Happy Saturday. Welcome back to Ken's Cardboard. This is my YouTube baseball card channel. I also collect hockey cards. But today we're talking about baseball cards, and we're getting back to the 1978 set that I am curating for my collection. And I picked up, I don't know, where's my stack here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 more cards to the collection from 1978. So if you haven't watched any of these previous videos, I am collecting all of the key players from 1978. I originally started out with just Hall of Famers, but there's some other key players in there that I wanted to collect. I'm probably going to collect all of the All-Star Shield cards, some other key things of players, like all of the MVPs and Cy Young Award winners, all of those players from that 1977 season that 1978 celebrates. So along with collecting the cards, lately I've been reading this book here by Joe Posnanski, The Baseball 100, which in his opinion is the his top 100 baseball players of all time. And I think this book was written up to like 2022, so I think the book was released last year. I started reading this book picked it up from the library. My bookmark's falling down here. This bookmark here was I got from Drew, Vintage Cards Legacy. I bought it from his daughter. I went to, when I was out in Georgia, I stopped by one of his shows that he was selling some wood products, and I bought this cool bookmark from his daughter that she made. So use that one there. Shout out to their Drew, Vintage Cards Legacy. But anyways, top 100 books. What's unique about this book is there's no table of contents for the 100 players. You have to kind of like read the book to actually find out what the order is of his opinion of where the players are. And I'm sure a lot of people disagree of like where these are, but how do you rank somebody from different eras? As number 60 or number 75? What's the difference? So, but anyways, of course, I cheated. I went to the back to look to see who his top number 1 player was. I'm sure you can probably guess the top, some of the players in the top 5, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. So you'll have to go out and read Joe's book. I highly recommend it. There's probably a lot of, there's a lot of players you probably have read information about. There's probably a lot that you haven't read about. You'd have to read 100 books to pick up a book about every one of these players. But he has a lot of good stories from his time in baseball writing, and stories I've never heard before. So I'm going to read a little story about one of the players in here. So as I want to get to that card. So let's turn around the camera and check out what I picked up for my 1978 collection. Alrighty, we're back, and as I mentioned, I'm collecting the 1978. Maybe I didn't mention it, but 1978, I'm collecting all of these cards in SGC 7 or higher, and that is my goal. So let's start off with 2 cards that I sent to the to SGC when I went to the National, and got them back like 2 weeks later. So that was pretty quick. SGC is super quick. This first card I got is this Lou Brock card that I picked up as part of a sale on eBay, and the guy had some other cards that I could get for free because shipping. I thought this one had a chance to get a 7, but just kind of slipped, so down to a 6. But anyways, Lou Brock played 17 years in Major League Baseball. In 1977, he had reached 900 stolen bases at that time. So on the backs of Topps cards here, they didn't show stolen bases at the time, so you weren't tracked that. I had to go to other sources to find that, like Baseball Reference. But Lou Brock is still the second in career stolen bases behind Rickey Henderson with 938 stolen bases. He had 35 stolen bases in 1977. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1985. He had 2,834 hits. And there's only 2 active players that are over 300 stolen bases. Can you guess who they are? I'll give you a second on that. You can pause the video. It is Jose Altuve at 311 stolen bases and Starling Marte at 351. So there we got Lou Brock. And so this one doesn't quite qualify to meet my collection. So, but I got this card for like, I don't know, a couple dollars. And, obviously it costs like $20 to get it graded. So these cards actually, the Lou Brock, I can probably find a 7 at around that price one of these days. So Lou Brock. Next up is Tony Perez, and this one came back a 9.5. Wow, I was shocked at how high I grade this one. This one I picked up of Greg Morris, and he can find a lot of good set breaks of cards from Greg Morris, and this one I thought was a great example. I didn't know it would be a 9.5, but I'll take it. So Tony Perez, 23-year career, elected to the Hall of Fame in 2000. He has a 14. This is about in 1977. It was his like 14th year in Major League Baseball, playing for the Reds. This is the first time he played for the Expos as a free agent. The Reds kind of gave up all their players in the late 70s after their run as the Big Red Machine, which Tony Perez was a part of. But 7-time All-Star. He was Mr. Consistency through 1980. He was hammering out, playing games, 150 games every season pretty much. He never really got injured. So he was just a very consistent player and big part of the Big Red Machine. Tony Perez, now on the Expos in 1977. Next up is Mr. Raleigh Fingers. This is a nice card. Picked this up less than $20 and an 8, so it's a pretty good price. Yeah. Raleigh Fingers was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1992, 17-year career. He was a 7-time All-Star. He ended up with a losing record at 114 and 118. If you look on the back of his baseball card, back in the day, they didn't show saves, so you had to kind of like guess what the saves were. Or you could look it up online with the internet these days, which I did. In 1977, he was the saves leader with 35 saves. He was also the leader of saves with 351 when he retired. At that time, he was the saves 341. Excuse me. He was the saves leader. In 1977, he was his first year as the Padres from coming over as a free agent from the A's. And he was also the World Series MVP in 1974 of that A's run of World Series from 72, 73, and 74. So Raleigh Fingers was the greatest closer of all time when he retired. So pretty awesome pitcher and amazing mustache, of course. Probably the best of baseball all time. Next up, we got a Andre Dawson rookie cup card with the Expos. In 1977, Andre Dawson was the Rookie of the Year. So, great player. Played for, obviously, the Cubs, too, as well. But this time, this is his first full season in Major League Baseball. I think that this is not his rookie card. I think he was on a multiplayer card in 1976. But I prefer this one with his rookie cup card. He was also a 1987 MVP. He did play for you can see here, he played for the Denver Bears here in Colorado in 1976, where the Denver Bears used to play. That's where Mile High Stadium came. That's where they played, and the Rockies eventually moved in there for a few seasons before they built Coors Field. Andre Dawson was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2010. He ended his career with 2,774 hits, 438 home runs, 2 Gold Gloves, 8-time All-Star. So, Andre Dawson, the Hawk. Let's move Dawson to the stand over here for now. Next up, we got Bruce Sutter. This is also a 7. Bruce Sutter as the Cubby. Shout out to my buddies David M. and Vintage Card Steve. Cubbies fans. Bruce Sutter, 300 saves even, 68 and 71 career, so he had a losing record as well, like Raleigh Fingers did. He only had a 12-year career, and he was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2006, six-time All-Star. He played for the Cubs, Cardinals, and Braves, and he did win the Cy Young in 1979, so I think, he was kind of like the second best closer of this age behind Raleigh Fingers, so Bruce Sutter. Closers definitely deserve the spot in the Hall of Fame. That's a tough spot, as you know, these days, with the closers changing all the time. So next up, we got Gaylord Perry. We got a lot of pictures on this stack of cards here, but I got this one in an 8. Gaylord Perry was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1991. He had a very long career. I think it was 23 years. In 1977, he was 15 and 12. He ended up with 314 wins and 265 losses in his career, 3,534 strikeouts, 2-time Cy Young Award winner in 1972 and 79. So Jim Perry. And I'm going to tell a little bit of story about Jim. I'm going to read from the book that I have here from Joe Posnanski. So, like, you probably can tell from the title of it what it is. So, okay, let's go back to that pivotal day when Perry decided to become an outlaw. May 31st, 1964. It was 6 years after he signed with the Giants, and things were not going too well. Jim had become a star with Cleveland. He led the league in wins and shutouts in 1960 and made the All-Star team in 1961. The Twins traded for him, and Jim Perry would help lead Minnesota to the 1965 pennant. Gaylord? Nobody could figure him out. He had good enough stuff. He was competitive. Jim Perry was Gaylord's brother, if you're not familiar with that. But people liked him. He dominated at times in the majors leagues, but something just wasn't clicking right for him in the majors. Gaylord Perry remained an enigma to the San Francisco Giants, as he gets when he could be his last chance with the National League club. The Associated Press wrote about him in 1964 during the spring training season. The team was losing patience. In his first 2 seasons, he had managed just 11 starts and a few more games in relief, and he was already 25 years old. Time was running short. As the 1964 season began, he was put in the bullpen, where he was good some days and not good on others. The Giants finally gave him a start in early May, and he gave up 7 runs in 7 innings. He just wasn't sharp, his manager Alan Dark said. It was unclear at the moment if the Giants would ever give him another chance to start a game, and then destiny called. Perry pitched well in relief appearance, and then came the pivotal day. It was at Shea Stadium, and more than 57,000 people were in the stands to see it. Even though the Mets were in last place at the time, Perry was at the very bottom of the list of pitchers Alvin Dark wanted to use, particularly after the Giants took a 6-1 lead in the second game. But the Mets somehow came back to tie the score. It went into extra innings, and it kept going. And finally, in the 13th inning, the fateful call went to Perry. He almost blew the game right away. He gave up back-to-back singles to Amato Samuel and Roy McMillan, which should have set up the Mets nicely, but Giants outfitter Jesus Alou made a fantastic throw to get Samuel at third base. Then in the 15th, Perry gave up a leadoff single and a sacrifice bunt, and things looked bleak. Radio announcer Russ Hodges said, "Gaylord looks like the grim Undertaker there on the mound." And that's when exhausted Giants catcher Tommy Holler walked out to the mound and said the words that would change everything. "Gaylord," Holler said, "it's time to try it out." They both knew exactly what Holler meant. It was time for Perry to throw the spitball. He'd thrown it a couple times in games before, more as a lark than anything else. Holler had seen how devastating a pitch it was, how it dropped like a boulder being pushed over the edge of a cliff, a Roadrunner Coyote cartoon, how batters could not make solid contact with it, how sweet those double play ground balls looked coming off the bat. On the downside, the spitball was illegal and had been for almost 50 years. Was I ready to be an outlaw, Perry asked. "You know all the stuff about desperate times and desperate measures," Perry answered. And so he began. He got his first spitball double play when Galen Cisco bounced a ball right back to him. That ended the inning and the threat. The game went on and on and on, and Perry kept on drenching the baseball and kept on getting double plays until Giants finally scored in the 23rd inning. In all, he pitched 10 scoreless innings, striking out 9, forcing 3 double plays. He'd seen the future, and the future was wet. The rest of that season he had... I'm not going to go into the rest of this, but anyways, Gaylord Perry was a spitball pitcher, and stories in this book are great. You can pick it up and read about all these players, and I think he had Gaylord Perry listed as the what was it? 68th best player of Major League Baseball. I don't know. Was he the 68th best player? You tell me. It's hard to tell, but he cheated apparently using a spitball. So next up, we have Billy Martin, who's not in the Hall of Fame, but he did have a pretty good career. Let me check my notes here. He played from 1950 to 1961. I like this cool image on the cards. We got his player days as a Yankee. Here's a manager as a Yankee. He was only a one-time All-Star, but he did play in 5 World Series, and he also managed the Yankees to the World Series in 1977. So that is why I have included Billy Martin in this collection that I'm curating. As a manager, Billy was 1,253 and 1,013. He managed 1 year for the Twins, 3 for the Tigers, 3 for the Rangers, 3 for the A's, and 8 as the Yankees. So there you go, Billy Martin. Love these manager cards. They just look awesome. And then on the back, it's got his playing day stats. Pretty cool. Billy Martin. Got some heavy hitters coming up here. Nice Johnny Bench, got with the All-Star logo on here in the 7. Picked this up off of eBay. Johnny Bench, I think a lot of people think he's the best catcher of all time. I probably would have to agree to that. 17-year career, 14-time All-Star, 2-time MVP in 70 and 72. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1989. And he was Rookie of the Year, also 10-time Gold Glove winner. Finished his career with 389 home runs. As a catcher, he is 3rd all-time with home runs with 356. Maybe you can name the 2 that are above him. It's probably pretty obvious, but that would be Carlton Fisk with 366 home runs and Mike Piazza with 399 home runs as a catcher. So there you go. The greatest catcher of all time, Johnny Bench. Shout out to Shannon, my buddy who's a Reds fan. Back to the Cardboard is his channel, if you haven't checked out Shannon. And last up here, we got Mr. Nolan Ryan. This is probably, I don't know, the second or third most expensive card in the 78 set, behind Eddie Murray and Reggie Jackson. Some of the, the rookie cards are on the prospects card, so like Jack Morris and Alan Trammell. But Nolan Ryan's still pretty high up there, big time fan. So a lot of people know about Nolan Ryan. 7-time no-hitters, was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1999. Finished his career with 324 wins, 292 losses. In 1977, he had 341 strikeouts. He had a 19 and 16 record. That Nolan Ryan was, known for leading strikeouts. He led the league 11 times, but he also led the league 8 times in walks. And he's a career walk leader of 2,795, along with his 5,714 strikeouts. He never won any Cy Young awards, but he was an 8-time All-Star. So there you have it. This is a nice copy of Nolan Ryan's 1978 Topps card. Thanks for watching, everybody. A little bit longer today, but wanted to share that story about Gaylord Perry. So appreciate it. Thanks for coming to my channel, and I hope you enjoyed this version of my 1978 Topps collection. Take care.